Happy Sunday morning. I'm Shannon and welcome back to my channel. Please do forgive my hair. It is very humid where I live, and no matter what I do, my curly hair just frizzes out. I have moussed it, I have gelled it, I have prayed, I have beat it. At my age, I'm just going to accept it. For today's video, I wanted to talk about what I'm working on. Allergies this year are just making me itchy and wheezy, and it changes my voice a little bit. I promise I'm not getting sick. It is truly just allergies. I thought for this week's video, I would talk a little bit about what I'm working on, where I bought the yarn, and I have at least one tip for you. So first, I want to mention that I did finish the socks. Just plain Jane socks. I did use a thicker yarn for both the heel and for the cuffs. I feel like people and I like a thicker yarn where it rubs on your shoe. I think that tends to be a little sturdier also. These will be given away next week as an early Christmas gift. The recipient knows, and she is in fact expecting them. I do want to mention also that I went to the New York State Fair. I live in central New York, not that far from where it's held, and my son, who I went with, was very kind and bought me an emotional support chicken kit. Here's the yarn from the Weavers, and this is from CC's Wool. I am very excited to start this. Anybody who lives in central New York knows that it gets dark very early, starting right about now, and we all just need a little bit of support, and I just love this and I cannot wait to make it. I'm going to try to get it done in the next couple of weeks. So in my basket, I know that I call it the basket of doom because it has all my projects. This is the Access Tee by Telly Bean Knits. Let me check my notes. Yes, Telly Bean, the Bright Access Tee. Now hers calls for a solid color on the body, but I am using all of my leftover sock yarn that I may not have enough to make a sock out of, or even a crazy sock. So this is going to be an ongoing project. It's also, at this point, fairly mindless. It's this just knitting in the round, going round after round after round. Oh, I caught my needle. I don't typically use needle stoppers when they're this small. I just pull them right through and have it kind of bunched down at the bottom of the circular needle where the curve is. I will say, while I'm talking about needles, I stopped at So What, which is my local area's reclamation store. People donate all sorts of craft supplies, whether it be for quilting, knitting, obviously crocheting, buttons. They have a ton of buttons. Anything that you would need almost for any craft. They have it. People donate it. They weigh it all out to see how much yearly that they keep out of the landfills, and then they sell it to the public for very reduced prices. I bought a pair of, I believe these are 16 inches, for 50 cents. How can you go wrong with a pair of knitting needles for 50 cents? That is almost better than a garage sale price. I got that my last trip. I did buy a kit. It is, let me just see here, it's the 50 States of Beanie. It looks a little bit like this. And here is the yarn for it. Those needles are not for this project. There's the yarn. I'm going to make this for my significant other for a Christmas present. And while I was there, I also bought a little miniature project bag or doodad bag, because anybody who crafts knows that you have a ton of little things, little needles, hooks, just little doodads. But I just fell in love with this. This was also 50 cents. How can you go wrong for 50 cents? And they take the profits and they donate it to a local charity every month. One charity that I know for sure that they donate to is Sleep in Heavenly Peace, which is a charity that people build bed frames for underprivileged children in our area. And then So What will donate the sheets. I believe, I'm not 110% sure on the sheets, but I know that they donate a blanket or an Afghan for the top. And I just think that is the most wonderful charity, second to feeding them, that there ever could be. And I'm so proud that in my tiny little way that I also donate to that. That is, I think, a business model that would make the world truly a better place if it was followed more. Okay, so moving along here, I am also working on the Acantha sock by Natural Knits. And this is the pattern right here. Obviously, I'm still working on the sock. I do magic loop when I make socks typically, although I am going to try to do a smaller needle, and in fact a 9-inch. But it's a very lovely, let me see if I can stretch that out so y'all folks can see it. It is a flower, or a tree perhaps. You see there's like the buds, and here's the stem. I love this pattern. It is so easy to follow. When I started making this one and its sister, the Athena, I was asked to be a test knitter. Just such a pleasant experience to knit and to make, and the directions are so easy. She does them both in written instructions and a graph, depending on which way you go, which also is one thing I'd like to mention while I'm here. Put it in a sheet protector, folks. That way you can either put a post-it, which is my preferred method, on the row that you're working on, or you can also use a highlighter and then just erase it, just right with your finger if you'd like to, just right over, or I'm sorry, excuse me, just erase it or right over the row that you're on, however you need to mark it. That way you're not always printing out patterns that you're erasing on or marking in some way, which we all know makes for messy charts. So that's what I'm working on. Just a very, very lovely pattern to work on. Let me see if I can, in my basket of doom. Also bought at So What, 4 balls of this yarn. This is Diwa Fine Merino Superwash. I do believe that it has a little bit of nylon in it. Each ball is 50 grams, and I bought 4 balls for $10. Excellent pricing from So What. In fact, most of my yarn comes from there, with the possible exception of my emotional support chicken that my son bought me. You can't beat the prices, folks. I would highly urge everybody to go look in their area to see if they have something similar. 50 cents for needles. You just cannot beat it. I have a whole basket full of yarn for that particular sweater and for my socks. I'm trying to think ahead for the holidays now. So my sweater probably won't get worked on a whole heck of a lot, but it's nice to sometimes, if you're watching an action movie, just to have something that you can just go around and around and around in. That is absolutely just a lovely feeling. Also, I am working on the Radioactive shrimp. My son asked me for it. He just thinks it's hilarious, and he is my editor, so he'll know that I'm working on it. In fact, he picked out the yarn for it. I'd like to try to make at least 2. I don't know if I'll be able to make the 2 and the socks this week, but I will try to check in maybe on a Wednesday to see how far I have gotten on that. And that's pretty much all I'm working on, just the socks. I did make the Athena socks also by Natural Knits. I will say that that pattern also is very easy to follow, very lovely to work up, works up like a dream. But I used variegated yarn, and I think that the pattern is a little bit lost in the variegation. They're fine for me. I would not gift them, not with variegated yarn, which is why I went to this very pretty minty color. And it just shows the pattern so well. I think I'm just going to do one repeat and then go right into the socks. And if I have enough, I will try to redo the Athena socks. I am very, very happy with these patterns. I was asked to be a test knitter. I cannot say enough nice things about them. Very, very easy to follow. I would imagine you would have to be at least an intermediate knitter to follow, or at the very least an advanced beginner. There are a couple of things that even I had to Google. One of them is 11LC, which is a cable where you put one on the needle, the cable needle, and then you hold that forward, knit the next one, and then knit the one on the cable needle. I had to Google it because I didn't know what that meant. So sometimes even the teachers need to be taught something, but very easy. The pattern, I did this whole thing in a day, and that was getting up and taking care of the house and the family and making dinner and so on and so forth. It goes very quickly, even though I am a slow knitter, and I cannot recommend her patterns or the patterns enough. And with that, that will be the end of my podcast for this week. I'll try to check in maybe on Wednesday and see where I am. I do have 10-hour days this week, so it may not be as soon as I'd like to, and I may not get as much knitting done as I would like to, but we'll check in. All right, everybody have a very wonderful week. Bye.